Hi, I'm John Culver. I'm a Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Chevrolet dealer in Wichita, Kansas. I've been in this business for about 42 years, worked for an auto auction prior to owning automobile dealerships, so most of my life since my freshman year in college has been devoted to the car business. That said, doesn't make me the ultimate expert on it, but I've made a pretty good living in these 40-some years in the car business. And I wanted to do a video discussing several points about the automobile business. First off, how do I know when I'm making a good deal when I buy a used car? Well, one of the things that we do, and we buy a lot of used cars ourselves to make sure that we're getting a good deal, is we shop around. We know what market value is on a vehicle. And there are several market values. There's a guidebook market value. NADA would be the one that comes to many people's minds. And then there's an actual market value, what people have been paying for those cars as they've bought them. And sometimes those two sources can be two different figures. If I was a retail customer, though, and buying a used car, I'd go online and do extensive research, several hours if that's what it took, to find out what other people are selling comparable cars for and what that book value is on that particular car. And once you're armed with those facts, that makes for a pretty formidable buyer, and it levels the playing surface considerably. The second point in buying a used car is a lot of times you have a trade-in, and the same process works on knowing the value of your trade-in. Go online, use the resources online, or call your bank and use their resources. A lot of times they'll know what they would loan on a vehicle like the one you're trading or the one you're buying. And if you have those figures, again, armed is dangerous. So the best tip that I could ever give anybody on making sure they're getting a good deal price-wise on a used cars is research, research, and more research. And if you have a friend in the business, be sure to avail yourself of their abilities and ask them as well. Now, as we go on, though, on the value of a used car, there's more than just the price to concern yourself with. There's the quality of the vehicle you're buying, and a cheap car can seem very cheap until a few months into the ownership experience when you come to find out the money you're spending on repairs per month, you could have bought a brand new vehicle. So in my opinion, the quality of what I buy is really more important than the price, and generally you're going to get what you pay for. In today's market, used cars are very short, hence the price is very high. And we've seen a lot of examples where a person could have bought a new car for the same amount they paid for a used car. And that's another resource that one should check, is what can you buy the same thing in a new vehicle for? And is that price differential enough to make you buy the used, or is that enough to make you buy the new? So that'd be another source I'd check. On the quality of the used car, back to that point, however, I would make sure that I had a qualified inspector of that vehicle. Many dealerships, franchise dealerships, will inspect a used vehicle for a fee, and they have factory-trained mechanics that probably work on that vehicle all of the time, so they would know the weak points of those vehicles. For example, in our product line, the older PT Cruisers, almost invariably you replace ball joints in those cars. Our technicians, that'd be one of the first things that they would check. So every car has its idiosyncrasy, and if you take it to that manufacturer or a good quality technician that's familiar with that product, they'll know what those idiosyncrasies are, excuse me, and that'll be the first thing that they looked for. Another question posed on used car buying is how I can make sure I'm not buying a limit. That again is extensive research. For example, in our product lines, if we have the ID number of a vehicle, we can trace that vehicle back to its original owner, and we can see what factory repairs have been done on that. So for example, when we buy a used product, a Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Chevrolet, we'll go back to the original date of service on the vehicle and look at the string of repairs that were done under the warranty period. If there were excessive repairs for certain problems, we would know that that car may have issues and that we wouldn't want anything to do with it. So that's one way we do our research. You can do the same thing if you happen to know somebody that sells that brand of vehicle and ask them to do a little research for you. The other thing when checking again for the quality of vehicle you're buying, is take it to a certified technician to have them inspect it for you as well. And then of course you have to drive the vehicle. And I think most of us know when we drive a vehicle the quality of what we're getting. Again, I'd be aware of a couple of things. One's the price though, and the second, and this is the first time I've covered it, know who you're dealing with. To me, it's very important in buying from reputable sources. We buy a lot of cars, but there are certain places even we won't buy cars, and we know this business. And there are other places that are very trusted sellers of cars, and we're very comfortable in doing business with them. So when you buy a vehicle, make sure you know something about the party you're buying from. And I think that's almost as important as checking the quality of the car out itself, because a reputable seller will not sell bad vehicles. Another question many used car buyers have is, do all used cars purchased in the state of Kansas come with a warranty? And the answer is yes. Kansas is an implied warranty state. But what you need to maybe look at there is the extent of the warranty. For example, some dealers would offer 5% off on parts and labor for 3 days or 300 miles. Well, that's not much of a warranty, but it covers them as far as the state law goes. Again, knowing who you're buying from is very important when buying a vehicle, and checking to make sure you understand the terms of the warranty that comes with that used vehicle. And another option is many dealerships and used car vehicle merchandisers sell extended used car warranties. Those are very good in many cases, but in most all cases, you need to read the contract to make sure you understand what you're getting. Now that we're actually buying the vehicle, there are a few tips on the buying process that one might want to know. Always have a plan on how you're going to buy a car. Don't buy impulsively. Make sure you understand where you're headed with this deal and that you've thought the process out. 2, you know the values of the vehicle. 3, if the deal sounds too good to be true, guarantee it's too good to be true. Don't be afraid to walk away. As a matter of fact, don't walk but run. That in the end will cost you a lot of money. Several ways to buy a car. You can start low and come up, or you can just tell them what you'd give. My personal preference on buying a car, or buying anything for that matter, is I just put it on the table. This is what I can do. If you can do it, let's do business. If not, thank you for your time. Always be courteous, be respectful. In most cases, you'll receive that back in kind. But whatever you do, make sure that you think the process through and that you're not afraid to ask for help from friends that may or may not know more than you. But at the end of the day, have a great time. I hope I've made some sense out of this whole process, which can seem very confusing. But after watching this, if you still have questions, feel free to give me a call. My name's John Culver, Parks Motors, 316 area, 775-6365. Whatever you do, have a good time doing it and enjoy the process. It's really not quite as painful as you think.